It's shiny. It's awesome. It's cool. It's a piece of hardware that I can give for my baby boy.
Porque eu não comi nada antes.
You know, absolutely. Hold on, I'm talking, brother. 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 Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
Hello and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our UFC 275 preview, Texiera versus Prahashka, live from Singapore. And Tom Ballum, I'm going to ask you a very serious question here. Why are the UFC running their first pay-per-view outside of the US post-COVID in Singapore?
So, Joe, this caught me off guard, I got to say. My first tip on this was when Zhang Weili talking about it being a home fight. And I was like, hold on, what's going up here?
Hold on, brother.
Yeah.
Hold
on, sister. We're not in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Are we in New York? Where is the Chinese community in the US located?
Yeah.
California? No. Turns out we're all the way over in Singapore. It's come out of nowhere.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
It is. It's maybe taking the fight to ONE FC.
Yes. This gate that the UFC have pulled is bigger than any ONE FC event in their history. Which maybe tells you that the move that they're going for, perhaps, to sort of assert their dominance in that marketplace, or just to show one, we're the big dogs in this yards. Don't try and fuck with us.
So you're saying Glover Teixeira big in Indonesia?
I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? But then when I was looking at the card, I'm like, well, Prahashka was really big in Japan. Do the UFC think Singapore is Japan? Like, I don't know. Like, do they think that that's the same thing?
It's that World War II mentality. Yeah. The sun has never set.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? So, it's an odd one. It's not Brazil, which would have been, or England, which would probably have been the two places you would have thought that they would have run as a pay-per-view. But I'll take it. I'll take this as their first pay-per-view location outside of the US, because something different crowd noise reactions, most likely. Be interesting to see. But what's going to be even more interesting to see, Tom, is this main event. Jiri Prahashka takes on Glover Teixeira, the light heavyweight champion, in, well, what is being billed as a passing of the torch moment for some. And Tom, I've got to ask you, just straight up, is this a narrative you buy into? Because I feel like the tactical breakdown and the narrative breakdown are the same thing.
That's an interesting line you finished on there, Joe. I guess when I think of a champion in waiting, the man who has not been crowned, I think of Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. And like his fellow Brazilian compatriot, I don't think you can look through Glover Teixeira, man on a 7-fight streak now, or 6 fights, sorry, could be 7 with a win over Jiri. Seems a bit odd to me. Seems a bit odd.
What do you mean, to look through Teixeira?
Yeah. I mean, Jiri, of course, he's red hot. He's definitely caught he's lit the touch paper.
Yeah.
He's lit Joe's touch paper. I can see the fire inside you. You're ready to get on the mic and talk about the fight. But
yes,
he has only fought 2 times in the UFC.
So
he was knocked out by Mohamed Laval. He hasn't fought a jiu-jitsu specialist with the record, the shoot box record.
Right, hold on. You're talking about he got knocked out by Mohamed Laval, okay, which was in Ryzen in a Grand Prix. That was the same night that he fought Vadim Nemkov, who is the current light heavyweight champion in Bellator. Have you ever seen that fight between Nemkov?
Hey, hold up. A point of order here. Is Nemkov the champion? I thought he was.
Yes.
I don't think he is, Joe.
He is.
Isn't it? Didn't Corey Anderson?
No, it finished in a DQ.
Former UFC great.
No, it finished in a DQ, and that they couldn't.
The best light heavyweight in the world, Joe. Corey Anderson.
Levels to this game. No, it ended in a draw because Anderson. What did he do?
Yeah, it was a clash of heads.
Headbutt, yeah,
and cut Nemkov.
Yeah,
right.
So Nemkov is the
Bellator. Like that.
Anyway, have you seen Nemkov versus Prahashka? Enough of this fucking nonsense.
I haven't, Joe. That is not. It didn't take place in the UFC, so did it really happen?
Prahashka won that fight because Nemkov had to give up because he was so exhausted. And it was one round. He gave up at the end of the first round. It was a 10-minute round, by the way. And the pace that Prahashka put on him was just insane. At the end of the round, Prahashka, who, by the way, Nemkov was on top. And at the end of the round, Nemkov got off and Prahashka just popped up and went to his corner. Nemkov just laid there on the ground and he was just like, I can't go on. Okay. And then he got knocked out later in that night by King Mo. Okay, so let's put that out there. Just like, okay, got knocked out by King Mo, yes, after having a real dogfight the same.
All right, Joe. All right. Okay, so you've cleared his name on the first point there, but the second charge was, has he fought a man with the ground game of Glover Teixeira? Now, for the listeners, there's frantic scrambling going on the Wikipedia page right now. He's stalling for time. The answer's no, Joe. I can clear that one up for you right now.
He hasn't.
So, look, the salient point from that is Jiri deserves all the hype that's behind him, but you can't sleep on Glover Teixeira, as certain Jan Blachowicz will tell you.
I think Carl Albrechtsen, who Prahashka beat, was Swedish wrestling national champion, if I remember correctly. So
match him up with Glover. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm just. It does fall into this category though of like, can Glover withstand the storm? Is he going to be able to get to a single leg to take Prahashka down? Is he going to be able to keep him down for one? And then is he going to be able to work towards a finish?
Well, I'd like your help answering a couple of those questions because I've got a pretty clear picture in my mind for others. I mean, we know that Glover can eat shots and lure you in the process. The trap, the Glover trap. Now, we've already had previous victims. Probably the most iconic one was the Anthony Smith one. Where
yes. Yeah, his teeth were falling out, yeah.
So, yeah, we already know that Glover can hang in there. He can rope a dope. He can do what he does. He can take a shot. Now, what I haven't seen, and again, this is because of the majority of Prahashka's career so far has been outside of the big time, as we see it here in the West, and on Hold On, I'm Talking Brother, especially when we're waiting for press certification for UFC London, is if Glover can get into a position where he's on top against Jiri, can Jiri escape that position? What do you know about that, Joe? He can.
He can 100%. The thing is that Prahashka, he has sort of this explosive energy which he then weaponizes with the cardio, which will sort of drag on late into fights. And from what I've seen of him getting up and having followed his career in Japan, is that when he is taken down, he is able to explode up out of it. He has been able to do that. I do then question how many times he will be able to do that against Glover. Because, okay, maybe once or twice, sure, but when it gets to like the third, fourth, fifth time of being taken down, I think then you're starting to get into sort of difficult territory, and then that sort of boa constrictor-like quality to Teixeira's wrestling will probably take over. But, Tom, I don't think it's going to get that far, personally. I think you probably knew that I was going to go this way, and you're probably going to counter as such to this. We're going to lay our predictions on the line now. By the way, I've realised I fucked something up. I haven't set the rules, which is that me and Tom make predictions for each fight. 1 point if we get the winner correct, 2 points if we get the method. And I'm telling you the method to this main event, and it's Jiri Prahashka by knockout. That is how he's going to win this fight.
Is that in a first round stoppage?
First or second round.
Wow.
I think he's just going to absolutely swarm Teixeira. I think Teixeira, to his credit, has incredibly strong fundamentals, which is really strong wrestling, and then also a great right hand left hook combo. That's how he drops everyone. He drops everyone this way. The thing is that he fights guys that are a lot more, that fall on their fundamentals a lot more than Prahashka. Prahashka's got like these sort of weird movements, and his timing's weird. He's not like, 1, 2, 3 shot, 1, 2, 3 shot. He will throw things at different points, at different angles that you're not expecting. Single shots. Even, do you remember the knockout of Ozdemir?
Of course I do.
Do you remember the lead up to the knockout, which was this head kick, which Prahashka threw at this kind of really kind of ropey head kick, but it was this out of nowhere sort of angle that he threw it at that Ozdemir thought was coming to the body that ended up going to the head. Rocked Ozdemir and then worked into the cage. Beautiful 1-2 down the middle, knocked him out. That is what Prahashka has. So I think if it falls into a fundamentals game, I think Texeira will be able to get the win. But I think Prahashka, just because he is how he fights, will be able to start to put it on Texeira. That's not to say I don't think Texeira can't win this. I 100% think he can do it. I just don't think he will.
So, you're on safe ground there, Joe. Jiri, he is the favourite going into this fight.
Not massively. Not massively.
No, not a massive favourite, considering it's a relatively young gun versus the second oldest champion we've had in the UFC. A man who's been wobbled in all the runs, all his fights up to...
apart from Jan.
Apart from against Jan. He's aging like fine...
cheese.
Yeah. What do they like in Brazil?
Yeah. What ages well in Brazil?
Yes.
I don't know. Arse fillers. Maybe those.
I feel like that's not what Glover's going for. I feel like that's the opposite. And certainly the opposite of what Jiri would go for, Mr. Book of the Five Rings, the Bushido way.
Yeah.
Joe's face is lit up with more Japanese references.
You're making me sound like a real weeb right now.
Yeah, you told me about that tentacle stuff, man. You got to stop it. You got to stop it, Joe.
I know. By the way, I'm saying all this. Don't call me a weeb as I'm wearing a New Japan Pro Wrestling T-shirt. So there's, I'm really not doing myself. After I've just been to a Japanese restaurant as well. I've just been to tonight. So
and I can see the posters up on your wall of all those manga girls as well. and the slightly deflated doll on the seat. So anyway, Joe, look, I've picked Texeira.
Of course you have.
I've picked Texeira. I gave it away months ago for the regular listeners. They already knew. They've already gone to the bank, Joe. They're counting their winnings. They know who to back. And that's me picking Texeira.
Bye.
So, look, Joe, it's like this. Texeira can take a shot. Texeira can hang in there. I don't think Jiri can live with Texeira on the mat. I don't see a reason to think that he will be able to explode back up, especially when men with a better pedigree than Jiri in terms of wrestling have struggled to deal with Glover. And I also was quite taken by some of Jiri's comments when it came to fighting on the ground. And someone was asking him about his jiu-jitsu game, and he was like, no, don't bother with that. It's all about the ground and pound, baby. I do not think that lines up well to going down to the mat with Glover Texeira.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I've taken a slightly contrarian viewpoint. As you say, I think it's reasonably evenly matched fight. I think you could buy into either narrative. And I know Texeira. I know what I'm getting. I know his pedigree, and I'm gonna be conservative. I'm gonna lean on him. I'm not gonna just get chased the new thing.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, I think it is a close fight, and I do think that if Texeira can handle that storm that comes through, I could actually see him easily winning the fight in a way. I could see him just controlling Prahashka and just working the ground and pound and working the jiu-jitsu from there and letting him try to explode out and expend all this energy and working towards a finish on the ground. That is a very likely situation. I also do think that Glover Texeira is 42 years old and he's facing a guy who is peaking, and Texeira has been knocked out. He has been finished brutally. I mean, the Gustafsson one is the one I always think of, where Gustafsson unloaded an 8-shot combo on him with not much coming back. I don't know. Like, I'm a little bit hesitant to just think that Texeira can just ride it out.
Yeah, look, it's not so much that I think that Texeira can just eat them, and walk him down or something, Khabib versus Gaethje style. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, I think he can hang in there on the feet. I think Jiri, of course, with his style, does leave himself extremely exposed. He has been wobbled, Joe, in both of his fights against Oezdemir and against Reyes.
The Oezdemir one I contest. The Reyes one I won't so much, but I think the Oezdemir one, it's like he was constantly just getting out the range of like getting properly clipped, and I think that because Texeira's combos are so basic fundamentals that it may not. Joe, I don't think he's going to surprise Prahashka.
Joe, he's done it to everyone. You said it yourself earlier in the pod. He's done it to everyone. And,
yes.
And he's going to do it to Jiri. And
I don't think so.
I think when Jiri is a little bit, he's a little bit phased, a little bit unsure, in that space, Texeira will get into a grappling match with him. I think there will be a clinch moment, and I think Jiri will end up on the mat. I think that will deplete his kind of explosiveness, and I think he'll make a mistake. I picked Texeira by submission. Let's go. By submission. I didn't get to that part, I didn't get to that part.
Okay, so, fair enough.
Valentina Shevchenko, the reigning champion.
Yes. Flyweight champion.
The greatest women's mixed martial artist, according to some. According to some.
You?
I mean, she's in the conversation, of course.
I think there's not much of a conversation there, is there? I mean,
the other icons have fallen, after all.
What, Nunes, Cyborg, and Rousey? Yeah.
She's fighting Taila Santos, Joe. Woman with quite the record of her own, 19-1, not to be overlooked. What stands out to you about Taila Santos so far?
Like, she's got very strong ground game. My problem is that Valentina's fought women who have strong ground games and has smashed them on the ground. So I then think, okay, what does Taila Santos have on the feet? And then I also question, like, what can she offer Shevchenko? And I think this is just quite an easy matchup, to be honest, for Shevchenko. Like, I think Taila Santos has a good-looking record because she's fighting in the flyweight division. Like,
the majority of those fights are in Brazil, in some backwaters.
Aspera FC, which I'm presuming with Portuguese would be Aspera FC. If we're gonna, there you go, nice little linguist joke for you there. Yeah, I don't know. I find that Shevchenko, she's so cold and calculated in all of her matchups, is that I don't think she's ever going to be surprised by an opponent. Like, unless you have someone who has only demonstrated striking abilities, show wrestling abilities, for example, or a wrestler who shows good striking abilities. I think Shevchenko, because of that, is moderately overrated as a fighter. I think she does fall within certain tropes of hers that make her look better than she actually is, because the standard of opposition she's facing are not of her standard. When she fought Andrade, and everyone was just like, well, Andrade, she's a strong power puncher and all these sorts of things. It's like, yeah, but Shevchenko knows that, and she's going to fight to that. Like, she's going to know how to take her out, and it's just like she took her down, grappled her, and beat her up on the ground. It was like when she fought, Lauren Murphy. She just knew, I've got to ride this out, take her into later rounds, wear her down, and then I'll take her down and finish her on the ground, and that's what she did. The head kick of Jessica I was this well set up sort of head kick finish, and it's, when I think about like Taila Santos and what she has to offer, which is strong grappling and a decent takedown offense, Shevchenko's going to know this and will be able to work around that. And it's like, well, unless it's really spectacular and really swarming and really engulfing, I don't see much of an issue for Shevchenko, and I'm wondering if you probably feel the same as me.
Yeah, this is not a fight I'm going to take the contrarian perspective on.
No.
However, we have been here before with women's MMA.
Of course.
We are off the back of Nunes, Pena, Rousey, Holm, Joanna versus Rose.
Yeah.
And, these women who have seemed to be at the top of the mountain and insurmountable have crumbled in all of those cases with relative ease and have never looked the same really again. So, there is going to be a moment out there when the sport catches up to the likes of Shevchenko, and I guess she'll fall like the others. But I'm not qualified to say if this is going to be that time or not.
I'm strongly of the opinion that this is not the time that it's going to happen. I'll lay my prediction out for you right now that I have Shevchenko by decision, of her kind of like basically cruising through this with relative ease. And I think that's kind of the most disappointing thing for Shevchenko, is that I don't think her CV after the fact is going to hold up as well as it does for someone like Mighty Mouse, for example. Because you remember when Mighty Mouse was beating people, he was beating guys twice, he's having to go through the division twice. It's like, I feel like some of those names are now more well respected after the fact. You know what I mean? Like Benavidez, Cejudo, obviously, Horiguchi.
Are you inferring, Joe, that Liz Carmouche will not be in the Hall of Fame 10 years from now?
I don't think she's going to be a hipster's choice. You know what I mean? Like when
look, I don't want to beat up on Valentina. I'm not signed up member of the fan club, but you go, girl, you beat who's in front of you, and
absolutely.
Just pile up that record, and it's not your responsibility to build up the division.
No,
it's to market other fighters, to grow the sport.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Valentina by decision. I've gone for the same thing.
Yeah, it pretty much writes itself, doesn't it? Well, should we get to this fight, which it's a rematch we weren't expecting, I'm going to say.
So we're talking about Zhang Weili, former champ, versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk, former champ.
Is that how you say it properly?
It's 6 months in Poland. I don't make mistakes like that. It's, if you know your tentacle porn, I know how to say Joanna Jedrzejczyk.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that. Sorry to our Polish fans out there, but
shout out to the Polish fans. Shout out to Mariusz Pudzianowski, who won the other night. I don't know if you saw that. That
man has taken a lot of steroids. He's bulging.
Ledge. That's all I'm saying. That guy owns. Anyway, go on.
Joanna, what's Joanna's nickname?
The Boogie Woman.
The Boogie Woman. All right, Joe.
Is that
It is. That's certainly how she's been billed. What about Zhang Weili? Don't look. I've got it written here.
It's Magnum.
It is.
It is
Magnum.
Yes, indeed. Great nicknames, aren't they?
So Magnum versus the Boogie Woman.
Yes.
It's a strange fight.
But by the way, can I just say, when you're bringing up the Boogie Woman, all I remember is Colby Covington's nickname for her. Do you remember what he called her? He called after she got the boob job, he called her the Booby Woman, which I thought is so childish.
I mean, if you cut through Colby's shtick, man, you cut through some of them. They do tickle me as well.
Yeah. What's your favorite Covington nickname?
Joe, I cannot downgrade. Can't pull the pod down like that. We're sailing so high. It's for the intellectual. It's highbrow. I can't pick out.
Fair enough. Okay, let me talk about Jedrzejczyk for a second. She has not won 2 fights in a row since 2017. She is on a weird run. Like, she has lost to Namajunas twice, beat Tisha Torres, lost to Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight title, beat Michelle Waterson, and then lost to Zhang Weili in the greatest fight in the history of women's MMA. I think that is just a fact at this stage. Would you say?
Well, Joe, I mean, there's no higher accolade than winning Fight of the Year according to Hold On, I'm Talking Brother, and that fight claimed it.
Yes, it did.
So, incredible fight. But is it enough? Is it enough? Like, Joanna hasn't fought since then. She was on the losing end. Huge hematoma, showed her heart, amazing. Built her brand. I wanna see her fight.
Yeah.
But, couldn't they have made anything else for her following that?
There's a weird one for me, which is that, like, it's weird that she's gone straight back into a number one contenders fight. Like, this is what Dana's billing this as, and these are two women that have, like, lost twice to Rose Namajunas. I mean, Weili's lost twice in a row. Joanna's last fight was coming up to 2 years ago now, over 2 years, and was a loss to Weili. And you're starting to see this now at some of the top ends of these divisions. There's a fight that was announced recently that I'll bring up later where top contenders are fighting each other and they're not fighting the up-and-coming contenders. And it slightly bugs me. Like, it does bug me that these are who these people are facing. I understand booking Weili versus Jedrzejczyk. Makes a whole lot of sense. Rematch to the greatest women's fight of all time. Slightly juices up this card, which maybe some people might think is not up to much. I personally really like this card. But it's just a bit of a weird one. It's a weird one to come back to for Jedrzejczyk, isn't it?
Certainly is. I mean, certainly is. I guess both of these women are at a place now where their career is a little bit stalled. Obviously, Zhang having lost her second fight to Rose, as we say, and Joanna also having lost 2 fights to Rose. It puts them both in a strange place. I guess I just, where do I see the winner of this fight going? Are they going to start putting them in the matchup with Carla Esparza? Is that enough? I don't know. I'd just like to see these guys fight down a little bit more, bring some more recognition to some other women. Isn't it the case, Joe? Look, if the loser of this fight, they have to be fighting someone, on the periphery of the top 10 after the fight. Like, if there's any justice in the world.
You mean like a Amanda Hebas or Virna Jandiroba or like that sort of thing?
I'm even saying like a little step below that. These are women who are not in a great place. They're not on good runs, and the loser of this fight will have chalked up another one. I think they should already be fighting kind of 5 to 10. That kind of area, and I think with another loss you've got to be looking at 10 to 15. I just don't see that happening. Let's bring some new women through.
I agree, and this is the best women's division as well, like quite clearly, because there's actually 5 to 6 good fighters, 5 to 6 interesting matchups, and we're just getting the same one again. It's just a bit of a weird booking size. But let's get into the actual fight itself. Are we just going to see a repeat of the first fight? And I want to know what your feelings is on Jedrzejczyk, because people who have been away from the fight game for a long time, and she's been away for a while after taking a lot of damage, they never look the same. And I'm wondering, do you feel like she's maybe going to be diminished from what she once was?
I mean, her aura's already been shattered, Joe. She's already been dealt some serious adversity. She was really upset the first time beaten by Rose. It was another one of those kind of shock moments. And then obviously being beaten pretty comfortably a second time out already really dealt her a difficult hand. I don't think, having seen her response to that in her performance against Zhang Weili, where again she was dealt some huge adversity in the fight, I don't think you can really question her resolve and actually her physical prowess as well. So I personally don't expect that to be an issue for Joanna. I think she really proved that she's as tough as they come in that fight.
Okay. The first fight, it came down to the frequency of Jedrzejczyk versus the power punches of Weili. I think we're going to see the same thing, but I'm wondering, do you think Weili falls onto the wrestling that she implemented against Rose in this fight?
Well, ultimately, she emerged a loser against Rose.
Not to us though. No.
But I mean, even on our scorecards, it was a kind of pick-em result.
Yeah.
It wasn't a comprehensive win for Zhang by any means.
No.
I don't think that's a weakness that Joanna has. I wouldn't say that a wrestling heavy game is going to upset her. She loves to be kind of in and out of the pocket, controlling the distance and leading with volume. So I think someone walking into those kind of clinch positions, those wrestling positions, I think that plays into Joanna's hands if that's the kind of game that Weili will come with. So I think they're kind of doomed, much to our delight, to have a similar matchup to the first time out, Joe.
Yeah. Where do you fall then in this matchup?
The bookies have gone for Zhang Weili. Yeah. She did emerge victorious, I think, by our scorecards as well in that fight of the night performance. First time out, 3 rounds to 2. I've gone for the same result, Zhang Weili by decision.
To surprise you, Tom, I have gone by Zhang Weili by decision for this fight. There's a part of it which is, do you buy into the ring rust theory? And I think some fighters it doesn't apply, and I'm wondering if Joanna is going to be one of those, because she's been really inconsistent the last few years, just in terms of the performances. The people that she's beaten, Michelle Waterson and Tisha Torres, no offense, but they're not on the level of Zhang Weili, Valentina Shevchenko, or Rose Namajunas. There seems to be a bit of a barrier in those last few that Joanna lost to, and I'm wondering, is she going to be able to push through and make that last run to a title, considering she is 34 years old, and as fans of the sport, this is new territory. We don't see many women's fighters get to this age and get to this sort of run in the UFC, having been a previous champion, and having first become the champion 7 years ago now. Is she going to be able to get back to it? Chances are probably quite unlikely, to be honest. It just doesn't work like that in combat sports, so I don't know why it should be any different for her. So that's why I've gone by Weili by decision. And let me ask you this question: who do you think the UFC wants to win?
Well, we've already discussed the kind of tilt to Asia and challenging ONE FC. I think there are 1.6 billion, maybe 1.8 billion people with Chinese ancestry in the world. So, I think there's maybe less than 100 million with Polish ancestry. It's pretty clear cut that the UFC would prefer to see Zhang win. I gotta say, Joe, I was itching, scratching around in my seat there. I don't think you're right in your assessment of Joanna there. I do not think her fire has dimmed. I think she's still a contender in the division. And honestly, let's match her up with Carla Esparza. Yeah, I mean, straight off the bat, you're not going to tell me you think Carla Esparza is a strong favourite going into that fight. There's no way she's a strong favourite if she's a favourite at all.
No.
Joanna's right there. She proved it in the first Zhang fight. I mean, honestly, now I'm kind of in Joanna's corner. You've pushed me to the other side.
I pissed you off so that Joanna's got a fan.
Your fundamentalist views, Let's go.
Anyway, should we get to the
Boo-boo woman?
Should we get to? Let's talk about the third best.
By the way, Joe, after some time to consider it, I think it's going to be Leon Scott.
Okay, it's your favourite.
It's so dismissive.
It's so childish, isn't it?
It's so
he's not even
trying. And that's the thing. That's the thing. That it really hits the sweet spot as well, because poor Leon cannot build a brand, cannot get anyone to even know who he is. He might even get to fight for the belt finally, and most fans wouldn't be able to describe him. So I think Leon Scott is Colby's best.
Do you know what's my favourite one might be is when he describes Usman as the CEO of EPO. Yeah, that is so good. That would be my go-to. Anyway, as I was saying, let's talk about the third best division in the UFC, men's flyweight.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
Coming out with more fundamentalist positions. Here we go.
Right, bantamweight number 1, men's lightweight number 2. Oh shit! I forgot about featherweight. Oh fuck's sake.
I'm not having featherweight.
You're not.
I'm not having featherweight. No, I'm not having, Joe. You got one man who's just whooping everyone. You got one man doing laps, and you got a guy behind him who's doing more laps.
Yeah.
The same problem there at middleweight.
So you're saying flyweight number 3?
I'm saying, what about welterweight?
What? We're talking about men doing laps, and we're talking about Usman. Come on, lads. Like, come on.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, men's flyweight.
Men's flyweight.
Now you know this. My boy, Manel Cap, versus my other boy, Rogerio Bontorin. Me and you love a bit of Bontorin, don't we?
Certainly do.
He is a man who he could be the most incredible fighter for all of 2 minutes and then just absolutely throw a fight away. And what is not to love about that? What's your favourite Bontorin loss? Is it the Cara France one? It has to be the Cara France
That's
one.
The moment when he then thinks that Cara France has disrespected him after the fight and he's chased him like a deranged little power dwarf. It's
incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. He's facing Manel Cap. Let's talk about... I want to talk about Manel Cap for a second.
Well, let me intro you there, Joe. Manel Cap, you built him up. You told me he was going to be the next best thing. You made me tune in to watch him fight Pantoja.
Right, hold on. His first fight in the UFC was Pantoja.
He got fucking ruined. It was comprehensive. Didn't win a round. Looked absolutely garbage. He promised me things would be different. And then I watched him fight some fella who I don't even know who he is, Nicolau. And the same thing happened again. What's going on, Joe?
Well, then he missed weight and
knocked out
Ozzy Osbourne. Which
since then, I've stopped paying attention, Joe, until I've looked at his record now, and I see that he has turned it around. What's been going on these last 2 fights?
Right,
he has won them.
He fought Ode Osbourne and he missed weight by about 5 pounds.
Who did he fight?
Ode Osbourne, however you say it. Right. He won at the weekend, by the way, but he beat Ode Osbourne after missing weight, and then he beat Zalgas Zumagulov. You've seen Zumagulov, come on. Don't mess around. Knocked him out. Mate, Cap's coming. He's coming for that title, and I'm laying it out for you right there. He's got his long stance. With his long hands like this, and he's just going to light your man up. Oh no, this is going to be a banging fight. I'm telling you right here. This is fight of the night right here. Bontorin is going to be dogging it in this one.
So
Bontorin, by the way, his last fight with Royval, that was a banger.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I mean, these guys are names now. Brandon Royval, Bontorin, Pantoja, the guys we're mentioning
Cara
right now,
France.
Listeners. Cara France, his star could not be shining brighter. Howling Piver, he was there. Well, he was there. You know, he had his
Matt
fight
Schnell.
with them.
Come on, we like a bit of Matt Schnell on the
The point is, flyweight is coming, guys. It's coming. You know, if these are the first times you're hearing some of these names, they will not be the last. Especially Cara France. Right now, that guy's on fire.
Yes, indeed.
On fire. Now Bontorin, much like Cap, he has a bit of a checkered recent record. He's dropped 3 of his last 4, with the 4th being a win for him, which was then overturned for, let's say, some performance enhancers. The CEO of what was
something?
Hydrochlorothiazide.
Yeah, doesn't quite roll off the tongue like the CEO of EPO, but we'll get there.
Yes, right. So and Cap, you know, he's 2 and 2 in his last 4. So these are guys, you know, in the danger zone at the bottom of the rankings. Both need a win. Now Bontorin, he's not bad. He can swang, and he's got a nice jiu-jitsu base. Cap being the striker, so you think it's not going to be a challenge for Cap to deal with?
No. I think it's going to be a challenge. I just think he's going to unload on Bontorin at once in the first round, in particular.
The Cara France blueprint.
Yeah, he's going to put him away. Round 1 knockout, Manel Cap. I'm calling it right here.
Joe, I've gone decision Bontorin.
Oh my days!
Out of pure disrespect for you,
God damn
and Manel.
Shit on my boy Manel.
I'll tell you this, Joe. Manel Cap wins this fight. I'm watching the next one because I haven't seen the last 2.
Bro, the last 2 have been banging. Like you're missing out.
Yeah, well, that's how you get one chance, Joe. Like I got no time. No time, Volkan Ozdemir, right? I've got no time.
You got time for Volkan, but you don't have time for Manelkap. That is disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm not having that. Right. Should we talk about this fight, the next fight?
People's main event.
Jack Della Maddalena, a man that Tom has no idea about. You have no idea who this bloke is, do you?
Joe, I know one thing. Jack Maddalena, he's the latest boy in Joe's production line. The latest one that you have shown favour on. Let me quote from our WhatsApp chat. Give you an inside look into how this podcast comes about. Right. I'm not going to quote it word for word, but I'll give you a sense of it. Who's this fella, Jack Maddalena? Says the leading podcaster. To which Joe responds, he's good. He won. And that's it. He enters the pantheon of boys. Tell us about him, Joe. Yeah, Jack Maddalena. Why should we pay attention?
He has got a sweet jab, let me tell you. Really sweet, tight hands, good right hand lead jab, good right hook off of that, and great combinations. Loves digging shots to the body. Loves throwing that left straight to the body. And it's got absolutely lovely straight boxing combinations. And I love a bit of that in MMA. Love me some of that. And to be honest, his last fight against Pete Rodriguez, who was a last-minute replacement, so it was an ideal opponent, put him away with a beautiful counter left. Just absolutely slipped him out of the way and put him away from there. And also, he fought Ange Loosa. Do you remember Ange Loosa?
I do not.
He's fought in the UFC. We've watched him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
We have definitely watched Ange Loosa. Anyway, he had a really good fight with him on Dana White's Contender Series, where Loosa had him in a head and arm triangle, and Della Maddalena got out of it like in a really slick manner. I was just like, damn, this guy's got some skills. Like, I'm liking this dude. I don't know. It's got some sweet hands, got some good ground game, and I'm looking forward to this.
Well, he's fighting your man, Emiv, a guy who's a 7-fight veteran of the UFC, former middleweight champion over in M1.
Yes.
Fighting straight out of Dagestan. He's of Azar ethnicity and has quite the Sambo background as well. Mm-hmm. This normally spells doom. And for Emiv in the UFC, he's 5-2, all decisions. Yeah. I think it's a test for your boy.
Yes.
I think it's certainly a test. And we've also got to look at the fact that this is a pretty bright spot, opening the main card.
Yeah.
First fight abroad after COVID.
What are you thinking?
Again, I'm feeling very cautious. I think I'm a bit damaged from losing my belt. Which, Joe did manage to win last time out, guys.
I did win, yes.
274.
Yes.
We try to move on from it. But it has cut me a little bit, so I'm being a bit cautious, and I've stuck with the veteran. Just because,
You've gone with Emiv?
Yeah, I've gone with Emiv. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Joe, look, it's about pedigree in this sport. Glover's got pedigree, Emiv's got pedigree, and, these young guns, they've got to come and show me something. So Emiv by decision for me.
Yeah. By the way, Ange Loosa, I was thinking, when have I seen this guy fight? And I realised I saw his last fight against Munir Lazez. Do you remember this fight where Munir Lazez won, and then he immediately in his post-fight interview shouted out Daniel Kinahan as a good friend of his. Do you remember this guy?
Oh Jesus, no.
Yeah. And then he was asked about it afterwards in the post-fight press conference. And then a lot of the fans underneath were just like, why is this journalist asking difficult questions? That's not nice. And it's just like, that's the point of a journalist, is it not?
So for the listeners, Daniel Kinahan is supposedly connected with organised crime.
Yeah, out of Ireland.
Of Ireland, known as a bit of a mob boss.
Yes.
He's certainly, he's persona non grata in boxing. And if the UFC is following boxing, then that's
yeah, we're in a worrying trend there.
What worrying timeline?
Wow, what a array of predictions we have there.
Joe, Madalena, how was he going to win this fight? I didn't
decision.
Decision
for me, for Madalena. I've seen Emir fight, and I think he's as tough as a $2 steak, as I like to say, and I think it'll be difficult for Madalena.
Well, that's just it. That's just it. I mean, he's caused problems for everyone he's fought, Emir.
Yeah,
he's not someone you just put away and walk through. So a big test.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if Madalena can get through this, I'm like, okay, might have something here.
I will award him, along with Cap. You win this fight, I'll watch the next one.
I mean, Emir, if you're bringing up the Dagestani thing, so you're obviously being like, okay, well, the wrestling and whatnot. It's like, well, his takedown accuracy is pretty low, so I wouldn't be hoping on that too much, but he does spam them quite a bit.
That's more what I'm looking at, Joe.
Okay,
that's more what I'm. It's a war of attrition, right. Especially if you're a young striker, a boxer, and somebody's applying that pressure and carrying that threat of a takedown. I'm not saying it necessarily that Emir needs to go in there and just bowl him over Khabib style.
No.
I think that it just needs to carry that constant threat, and then when he gets in that position, I don't see Madalena necessarily escaping. Big test.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the prelims just quickly. Is there a fight that stands out for you on these prelims?
I've just flicked onto the card now. Oh God, we got it. It's the reunion of Joe's Boy Club with Jacob Malkoun there.
Yes, my boy.
I know you're going to talk about Jake Matthews and Andre Filial. Joe,
yes.
Come on. It's not what prime time gold. This card.
No, it's not. But Filial owns. He knocked out Baeza, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then a month later, he knocks out Cameron Van Camp, whoever the fuck that is. And then 1 month after that, he's fighting Jake Matthews. So your man has fought 3 times in 3 months. You know Dana's loving a bit of that. Bit of cheap labour.
Fourth time out this year as well. He did fight Michel Pereira back in January.
Yes, exactly. So, he's out there. He's getting about it. What's not to like about Filial? He's got nice boxing as well. Strong boxing. Trained with Cormier out at AKA as well. So he's worked on his wrestling. Be interesting to see if Matthews will work towards that. And of course, Brendan Allen versus Jacob Malkoun. That's going to be a nice, interesting combo at middleweight, I presume. Middleweight that fight's happening at. So
Joe, listen, mate, I've got my watch on. It's a fitness tracker, and I can see the heart rate. It's not moved in the last few minutes. It's not. You're not setting my pulse off.
Are you at like 45? Is that what you're telling
It's
me?
a stone cold.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we've been away for a while, listeners. We love the sport.
We do. It's hard to get. It's hard to get riled up.
Give me something.
Give
me something, Dana.
All right. Shall we talk about? We'll recap our predictions in a moment, but let's go through some fight announcements.
Yes.
Shall we?
All right.
UFC Fight Night Paris. That's right. Paris, France, not Paris, Texas.
Wow.
I believe is being main evented by Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vettori in the middleweight division. Now, 2 gentlemen that, in theory, should be dropping down the division and are doing something that I just previously, minutes ago, criticised them for doing. But when it's a fight this good, fuck what I just said. That is a banger.
Yeah, Joe, that's a banger. I'm totally with you there. Just for the listeners, the fact it's in France, a big deal. That means finally legalised. Finally, you can get in there and put on events. So breaking ground for the UFC there.
For sure.
And yeah, absolutely. Both guys who have lost to the champ very recently. One of them twice now. And both of them twice, but one of them twice in championship fights. So should be going down, but it's a fight that should happen. They're both right there at the top. And it's the same kind of catch-all, especially for Vettori, where he loses this fight. He's got to be looking, 10 to 8, 11 to 8 in the rankings if he goes down to Whittaker, which, that would be my prediction. Yeah,
I agree. I think Whittaker is too varied and multi-skilled for Vettori. Also, another fight night that's going to be in front of fans. UFC Long Island, headlined by Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez in a main event. And then that is a banging fight. That's a banging fight. Now, I want you to line this up here. you've got Volkanovski versus Holloway. You've got this fight here. Do you think they're going to make the winner of this fight the winner of Volkanovski versus Holloway?
Where's Calvin Kattar at now?
He is at 5th, I believe, in the rankings.
He's got a fight coming up, hasn't he?
Has he got Arnold Allen? No, he doesn't have. No, he doesn't have Arnold Allen. He doesn't have Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen doesn't. By the way, why doesn't Arnold Allen have a fight booked for the UFC London event? That is insane.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, on UFC Fight Night Long Island, they have Jack Shaw facing Ricky Simone, banging bantamweight fight there. Again, why is that not on UFC London? But again, I'll allow it this time. Calvin Kattar, by the way, is facing Josh Emmett.
Yeah, I knew there was one coming up. Joe, that's a hell of a matchup right there.
That's a banger.
That's pretty hot. I'll take her off a win. It's not enough.
No.
It's not enough for him to fight for the belt again.
No, he needs another 2 or 3 after that.
Yeah, he's also just lost to Holloway so recently. I mean, Kattar as well, but there's at least a bit more distance. So
yes, and at least Kattar's had a win.
I guess
subsequently.
Exactly. So I feel like maybe an eliminator is what I'd be putting forth. Kattar, if he can come through that fight against Emmett, or Emmett, he's earned his place as well, fighting the winner of the Ortega fight.
What about Arnold Allen? What about Arnold Allen versus the winner?
Where does he fit in? Yeah.
What if Arnold Allen is 9-0 in the UFC? And Volkanovski,
he needs a fight, Joe.
Volkanovski is 11-0 in the UFC. Like, come on. Give Arnold Allen a title contender fight. That's what we need right there. Okay. Let's talk about UFC London. Paddy the Baddie Pimblett versus Jordan Levitt. What do you make of this? Because this is like actually a decent fighter.
It's a bizarre matchup.
It's weird, isn't it?
So Paddy Pimblett, I think most of the listeners will know him. He's red hot right now. He's a scouser who runs his mouth and has had a couple of finishes now in the UFC, having been the Cage Warriors champion. Jordan Levitt does not quite have the same profile. What he is remembered for, he's remembered for power slamming someone leading to a knockout and then doing the splits.
Yes, and then doing the dirty dancing lift. That's what he did with his coach.
Oh yeah,
his last fight he won, and he did the splits and then twerked. He's an odd bloke, and I like him for it.
I like that, yeah.
But he's very soft hands, wrestling heavy. I feel like this is kind of not like, I don't know. Pimblett has been caught on the chin a couple times already in the UFC, and I feel like they've given them a guy who might oblige Pimblett in ways.
Joey, that is not a gimme. It's not a gimme. I think we've seen
not
enough
a gimme.
of Levin. It's not a gimme. It's not an absolute doozy. I feel like that's a perfect banana skin for Paddy. To be honest with you.
You could see 15 minutes of Jordan Levitt just like absolutely grinding him into the ground, and just the British fans just booing. Can you imagine like the O2 just boo, just like stand him up? That won't be us in the press box, but we will be, respectfully watching, won't we, Tom?
100%, Joe.
100%. Dana, hook
no,
us up.
I like it's curious matchmaking, but I'm not against it.
Yes, very curious. Right, this is an interesting one. Bantamweight division. Dominic Cruz will be facing off. They're trying to book this apparently. Marlon Cheeto Vera versus Dominic Cruz.
My heart finally skipped a beat, because I thought you were going to say Marlon Moraes, and I thought that poor man.
Oh no!
Gone.
Well, Moraes he's been cut, thank God. Off you go to Eagle FC, brother. But
no. Petition to spare Marlon Moraes anymore. Combat sports concussions.
I totally agree. This is a big fight for Marlon Vera, and he's really adapted quite well since his loss to Song Yadong.
It's a good fight to make, Vera's earned it. He's right there. He's on the cusp, and I think there are harder matchups for him, but Cruz obviously doesn't.
Jan.
Yeah, the real cutting edge of the UFC.
And the one time that he stepped up and he faced Aldo and he lost, and Aldo just ground him out. Okay, he faced the veteran who had those skills that he just didn't have. He's facing a guy named Dominic Cruz, a guy who's been slightly written off in the last few years. Is he going to be able to get past this veteran? Is it going to be an Ortega versus Frankie Edgar moment of just we see a veteran finally get brutally knocked out? I think it's possible.
It's finally balanced. I've got enough respect for Dominic Cruz and his craft, and the fact he has overcome young, hungry guns who can bang. Much in the same vein as Vera. Very, very recently. I think it's a great matchup, actually, Joe.
Yeah, it's a really strong matchup. And then last of all, UFC trying to book for August the rematch of Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. Now, when I saw this matchup, I saw a lot of people popping for it, and let me tell you, I was not one of them. I was not one of those people because I've had enough. Sarukian and Gamrot, they're main eventing at Fight Night, those two, against each other. I'm sorry, but one of these two should be fighting Sarukian and the other one should be fighting Gamrot. I've had enough of this. Start fucking fighting some proper young contenders. Let them try and get a name. And if they can't beat you, they can't beat you. Enough of this. Gaethje, you're ducking Sarukian, and I know it. Get out 100%. There, face Sarukian. That was the first thought that went through my mind. Why aren't you fighting Fiziev? Why aren't you fighting Gamrot? Fucking Sarukian. Fucking whoever. Who's another lightweight who's good? Fucking whoever. Anyway, give me one of those guys facing the other guys. I've had enough. If you're not going to fight these guys, get out the rankings.
Joe, sign up for that wholeheartedly. I think you're just right. But the UFC's got to make these guys fight down. You know, you got to fight these young guns that stop matching up the vets, the tired names.
I mean, Poirier was desperate for that Nate Diaz fight, and it's just he's not got it. It's do you want to fight Gamrot? And it's just obviously he's going to say no, isn't he? He's going to say no to fighting Gamrot. You know, Gaethje's just been smoked by Oliveira. Do you fancy a bit of Arman Sarukian? No, you don't. Oh wow, what a surprise! Right. Should we go through our main card picks one more time before we wrap this up? So,
yep.
Jack Della Maddalena versus your man. What's his name again? Ramazan Emeev. Ramazan Emeev. Sorry. What did you pick?
I picked Emeev by decision.
I've got Maddalena by decision. Rogerio Bontorin versus Manel Cap. I've obviously gone with Cap by KO.
Bontorin decision.
Valentina Shevchenko versus... Zhang Weili versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk. We've both gone for Weili by decision.
We have.
Shevchenko, Taila Santos. I believe we've both gone for Shevchenko by decision. That's for the women's flyweight title. And in the main event, the men's light heavyweight championship on the line, Glover Teixeira versus Jiri Prahashka. I've gone for Prahashka by knockout, and you have not.
I have not. It's the duopoly of man. I've gone for Teixeira by submission.
We've really gone opposites. Proper opposites.
We have, Joe.
Yeah.
We have. Tune in next week, listeners, to see where we're at.
Yeah, when I get announced the champion again. Anyway, we'll wrap this up. Tom, I'll speak to you later, and listeners, we'll speak to you later.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Cheers.